Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Microsoft Flight Simulator. In today's episode we are back in the Honda Jet. We're going to be taking it from Sedona, Arizona over to Aspen. So stick around guys for a nice ski slope adventure. If you are interested in acquiring any of my Overkills tutorial guides for Microsoft Flight Simulator, please consider joining me on Patreon. Patreon subscribers level tier 2 and above have access to all of my guides, as well as any future updates and future guides that will be coming down the road. Link to Patreon can be found in the description below. All right, so let's go ahead and get our flight ready to get on out of here. Now, we do have FS Realistic running in the background. This is our first flight with it. It's actually only my second flight in the aircraft, so we're just going to see how everything goes here. And hopefully we have a good time. I just patched the aircraft prior to the start of this video, so we're flying it for the first time with the new patch. Second time ever. Watch out. All right, so I do remember from a lot of the checklists, there's a few things that we're going to be checking right away just to sort of speed things up for you guys and your benefit here. So normally, obviously, we would make sure that we have oxygen flowing, all that good jazz. Yay, it works. But the biggest thing that I want to do, come down and check here, and we'll be checking those again, walking through the checklist, but I want to show you guys here. We want to make sure that our ice protection is set in the norm position. Let me turn FS Realistic down a little bit. Sounds like there's like 400 people talking in the back of a 5-person aircraft. We have all of our ice switches are norm, all of our fuel systems are set to the norm position. We'll wait for the trim settings once we get the electrical power started, as well as we'll be watching for the windshield heat zones, the pneumatic pressure, and the bleed systems to make sure they're working. However, we can verify that the flap switch is in the retracted position, throttles are in cutoff, spoiler is in the retracted position as well. Alternate gear release is pushed in and closed. Let's make sure our parking brake is set. Landing gear handle is down. Emergency locator transmitter is in the norm position. Nose wheel steering we'll check and see once we get power. And then the oxygen system will be watching for norm up here as well, and make sure the pressurization system is in the norm position. Again, more information to follow once we get electrical power, which we're going to do right now. All right, so we have our battery on. We're going to go ahead and turn on the external power. And again, let's walk real quick through it. You can see oxygen system is set to norm, pressurization back to norm. Coming down over the top of the panel here, a few things that we're going to check, and I just like to do a little flow. Reset that, make sure the chime alert is off. We also want to make sure that the avionics panel is completely dark, that there isn't any of the autopilot systems that are currently active. We can go ahead and, you know what, I don't remember if I set live weather or not, so let's do that. I did not. Let's set our time back a little bit. I like morning flights, they're awesome. And we're going to set our barometric pressure. Give it a second to set in. There we go. 29er. And we're going to go ahead and bring up our MFD. Give me just a second here. I am going to adjust the crowd noise. It is very loud in here, and I don't like it. So let's see here. Cockpit Ambience, is that what I'm looking for? Or cabin ambience? There we go. That's probably what I'm looking for. That's exactly what I was looking for. Okay. There are people talking, which is cool, but like they were sounding like we're going down a lunch hallway, and it sounded like there was 480 of them in a 6-person aircraft. Okay, so now that we have all of that set, let's squeak on down to our rear panel here, continuing my flow here that I created sort of for myself last time I went through this aircraft. And at this point now, I'll go through the ice protection system again, norm, making sure engine anti-ice is off. Trim system is norm, and norm. Engine bleeds are set to norm. Cabin flow set to norm for pneumatic pressure. And the windshield heat is also set to the norm position. The thing about this aircraft is very highly automated. So there isn't a whole lot to do as you would expect for many of the other aircraft. The only thing I want to check before we start getting into the checklist to make sure we didn't miss anything is we're going to check the CAS messages. Left and right engine oil pressure is low. Left and right fuel pressure is low. Left and right engine shut down. Obviously they are off. External power door is open. We do have external power connected. Left and right generators are off. Make sure that you can't scroll up or down from the CAS page. And while I'm here, I'm also going to set the CDI to the FMS, as that's what's going to be our primary mode of navigation today. Squeaking on over here, we're going to make sure that the flaps and speed brakes are in fact showing retracted. Let's see if we can do a flight control test. Doesn't look like it's actually registering. That's too bad. But the controls are working as I just set on my controls there. Electrical power, we can see 29 volts, or we need to be above 23.5 volts on the primary bus. We have 29 on each bus. So at this point, let's go and step into the checklist portion and start the initialization. So we're going to go to initialization, system tests. As I said, the HJet is very, very automated. So fire detection, stall protection, switch illumination, it will do on its own and then alert you if there's an issue. All you have to do is hit pre-flight. So we're going to let that run. A minute here, we're going to get interrupted by the stall shaker. Weights and balances, operating weight, we're going to set empty weight here. Or not set empty weight, I'm sorry. Get from sim. There's the stall shakers. Okay, on the payload, again, get from sim. I set all of this up before starting the aircraft, or before starting the recording, in the weights menu here. Fuel on board, get from sim. And take off. We can just hit get from sim real quick. Go to the next page. Here's our V speeds. Once again, get from sim. And what's doing is using the numbers that we entered previously to calculate our V speeds. We got V1 at 109 knots, rotation at 114, and V2 at 119. Easy peasy. Let's go ahead and set, oops, wrong radio. Let's go to our transponder. And we are going 3552 today for the transponder code. It did that to me last time. Interesting. 3552. Press enter again. There we go. We're going to come over here to the transponder settings. Set it to standby. And now we can go ahead and walk through the checklist real quick. Now you're going to find that we got most of these done with our little flow that I just did there. But let's double check ourselves. So batteries are obviously on. Oxygen was checked. Pressurization is in the norm position. ELT is also in the norm position. Nose wheel steering, that's the only one that we did not check. There it is right there indicating norm. So we can go ahead and give that a check off. And landing gear handle is down. Alternate gear release, the red handle that was back behind the left throttle, is pushed in and closed. The parking brake is in fact set. Keep going. Flaps we verified are up. Thrust levers are in the cutoff. Speed brake is in fact retracted. Ice protection is in norm and off. Fuel panel set to norm. Trim panel was norm. Windshield heat was norm. Pneumatic panel was norm. Glare shield up above the autopilot panel there is dark. We checked to make sure none of the autopilot systems were on. The chime light we saw on the upper left-hand panel over above the PFD is dark. And the avionics initialization is now complete. Let's move to the starting the engines page. Passenger briefings. Hey guys, we're getting ready to take off and stuff. So, settle down back there. Put the toys away. All right. Passenger briefing set. Rudder pedals are set. Seats and seat belts are on. Doors are closed. Parking brake is still set. CAS messages over here. We did review those, excuse me. Electric volts. We've made sure that we were above 23.5 volts. And the engine start. Let's go ahead with the left start switch. Looking for about 10% on N1, at which point we'll move the left throttle over into the cutoff, the idle position. And it just dawned on me I forgot to start my spad.next, so give me just a second, guys. I'm bringing it up as we speak. Bear with me, please. Here it comes. Any second. 5 seconds. 4 seconds. 3 seconds. Maybe 2, 2.5, 2 3/4. Oh, I went the wrong direction and I went back up. All right, it's up. Okay, and we want to make sure it is assigned to that. And let's move the left throttle up. All right, looking good. Start number 2. All right, and engines are stable. So let's return over here to our checklist. Wrong button. All right, so we have engine instruments. We verify their operation in nominal parameters there. Engine anti-ice as required. I don't think we're going to need it. External power has been automatically disconnected. Let's turn the cabin power on. External power, disconnect. Flight controls free and correct. We did check that. Before taxi. Now, the next thing we need to do before we can get here is, let's walk through this for a second. Wing anti-ice if necessary. Oh, dang it. There it is. I do that all the time. Transponder code is set and entered. Flight's ID is set and entered. Flight plan. Let's go ahead and get that knocked out. It's a pretty easy flight plan, honestly. So the cool part is it's pretty much all direct. We're not using any SIDS or stars today. We are starting at Kilo Sierra Echo Zulu for Sedona. And we are heading over to Kilo Alpha Sierra Echo for Aspen, Colorado. And now let's start adding in our waypoints here. So let me get to that page on our flight route here. We are going direct to Lloyd. Then we are stepping over to Skier. Go figure, right? And then we are stepping over to Double. And press enter. We have a duplicate here. Obviously, we want Southwest USA. We're not going to go to China, at least not in this aircraft. Select that. And our flight route is complete. Easy peasy. So we can go back to the home page here. Go back to our checklist. Back up a little bit here. And flight plan is complete. Navigation source is set as the FMS. Altimeters, we'll verify it one more time. 29er, 89er is still correct. Flaps, we're going to set those for takeoff. We're going to go flaps 1. Or takeoff flaps as they are designated. Speed brake, we're going to test it. Speed brake extended. And retract it. All right, cabin signs as required. Parking brake is released. However, let's go ahead and check those external lights here for a second. What do we got here? I just like looking at them. There's a way to do it inside the aircraft, but this is just as fun. So we don't have any lights on yet, so we're going to go to Aircraft Systems, and we are going to go to System Controls, Exterior Lights. We want our taxi light on. We want the recog light on. Let's scroll down a little bit here. Navigation and our beacon light. I believe the beacon light was in fact on. Logo light, why not? Even though we're not necessarily doing night operations, maybe we'll be able to see something cool up there, so it could still be fun. All right, so let's go ahead and all we need to do is release the parking brake and we'll be on our way. So let's go back to our checklist and go to the taxi checklist. We're going to want to test the brakes, nose wheel steering check, and flight instruments check. So let's do a real quick tap, tap, and tap, and we'll know what to do next. And now we're set for takeoff. So, or I should say taxi. Checklist is ready for the takeoff position. You know, the other thing actually we'll do before we get going is we'll set our initial heading or initial altitude. We're actually going up to 39,000 feet today. It's crazy. So we are free and clear. We are not restricted by anything. So honestly, we're just going to go right for it. Oh, hello. Yeah, we'll set it for 15,000. I guess we'll do that first. I hate it when I do that, and I do it a lot. There we go. 15,000 is set. Let's taxi this little lady. So, parking brakes are released. Now, if memory serves, she takes quite a bit of power to get rolling, and then all of a sudden she goes like a bat out of hell. Okay, so I think this particular aircraft doesn't like my SPAD.next yet. So, I re-enabled the in-game controls, and we'll see if we get better throttle response. Alright. Yeah, she's moving. Okay. Yeah, that was weird. I guess it doesn't like SPAD.next. That sucks. But that's why we always have a backup plan. So what was happening is you guys would see the engine would spool, and then I think shortly after the input it received from SPAD.next, the in-game throttle position would take over and reduce the engines back to idle. So that's alright. We'll make it work. We'll make it work. I'll miss you, SPAD. I still prefer SPAD. Any day of the week, twice on Sunday. All right. Now we're getting ready to roll here. And trim, I believe, is 4 degrees on the aft. Okay. So, let's see here what we got here. Flaps are set, trim is set, speed brakes are retracted, cast messages are clear. Navigation is set, flight guidance is set, right? Let's make sure. Oh, nope, flight directors, that'd be good. Okay, only activate the one. Okay. This way we walk through the checklist, right? Takeoff briefing. We're going to take off. There's your briefing. Radar as required. Ice protection as required. And now we're ready for the after takeoff checklist. So it's after takeoff, obviously landing gear, with positive rates achieved. Yaw damper, flaps up at 130 knots minimum. Thrust levers and MCT, manage control. And let's see here. Flight guidance as required. Ice protection, cabin science. Okay. Let's get her out of here. I also want to make sure that our lights are set and ready for takeoff. So let's go ahead and just come down here. And I'm just going to turn the landing lights on just to make sure. As well as the strobe lights. Let's turn them on. And let's do the landing lights. Now, like I said, it should do it automatically as it detects that we're taking off. So I really hate that you still cannot move the mouse or the camera while controlling the aircraft. It's really frustrating. Makes you taxi like a dork. Okay, so let's see here. V1, we are looking for 109 knots, and we'll be rotating at 114 today. So let's get her out of here, guys. And let's tap that heading selector. Make sure we're aligned with the runway heading. First target set as Lloyd. We are good to go there. Let's go here. All right. I'm just doing a real quick check of our flight instruments to make sure everything's lining up as according. All right. Let's do it. And there's rotation. Whoa, baby. Settle down. What the heck was that? Got a warning. I'm not sure what it is yet. I got to zoom in where I can see it. Oh, transponder. All right, fair enough. Whew. It's actually kind of slick that they did that. All right, so let's go to the transponder mode. We'll just go to on. TA. There we go. Whew. She's a handful, isn't she? Again, guys, give me a little credit. It's only my second time flying it. Let's start turning out of here. Start trimming some nose down here. Let's go yaw damper on, autopilot on. And let's go into nav mode. She is a handful. Goodness gracious. And my zoom stopped working again. I have been having the worst time with my zoom randomly working and then randomly not. And we are overspeeding the aircraft. I had a good start. She got ahead of me here. Take our speed back to about 180 knots for our climb. Okay, that takeoff did not go as I planned. Live and learn, I guess, right? Alright, landing gear, yaw damper, flaps are set. Thrust levers should be in the MCT position now. Okay. We're climbing. Either we are in some nasty turbulent weather, which is possible given all the mountain ranges around Sedona. And there we go. All right, next thing left is just at 18,000 feet. We'll swap it over to standard altitude. And other than then, I'll see you guys at the cruise level where we'll talk about the descent, which will hopefully go a bit smoother. All right, guys, we are approaching our cruise altitude, but I have a feeling that we're going to hit it and then just have to turn right back around and come down. So we're going to go to our home page here. We're going to go to our procedures. Oops, not procedures, excuse me, flight plan. We're going to find double here, and according to the approach plate, they recommend being at 12,500 feet by this altitude, or by this location. So we're going to throw that in there, go to VNAV. VNAV is enabled. Top of descent, we're looking at 1 hour plus. So they say, but I don't know how much I believe that. We'll see. Got our TOD right there. Well, maybe about 240 miles away. So not too bad. So I'll catch you guys once we get to the top of descent, but real easy to set it up. You just lock in your altitude targets at each waypoint that you want to hit, and then make sure your VNAV is enabled, and it'll calculate it from there. So shouldn't be too bad here, guys. We're almost at the cruise altitude. We've got our standard pressure set once we pass 18,000 feet, and I'll see you guys in just a few. Okay, so once again, I made the glorious mistake of passing the top of descent. I do it a lot, and it's because I end up stepping away from the computer. So let's go ahead and get this thing started. We're going to pull the power way back, and we are going to descend like madmen. Oh, it helps if I hit the right thing. There we go. Gosh dang it. Get vertical speed going. Come on. Because I don't think VNAV... Does VNAV work in this aircraft? Oh, it does. Look at that. Alright, we are shooting for 12,500. Come on. That's fine. There we go. Worst case scenario, guys, we'll have to swing it back around. I'm going to pull the speed brake out. Try to see if we can't help me fix my mistake. I'm sorry. I got up, I was getting a drink, and then we're watching TikTok, and that was just a bad idea. There's so much cool aviation things on TikTok. Like, it is freaking awesome. I was watching a gentleman start a beautiful Corsair. There we go. We're catching it. We're catching it. Come on. Come on. You can do it. Well, how did we get blown so far off course here? Almost there. Come on. All right, there we go. Let's get that back up. See, VNAV is just rocking us, though. I don't think that VNAV works well. Because I want to be following this carrot here. So we're going to reduce our descent rate. This flight model needs a lot of work. This thing bounces around and jumps around quite a bit. Still a cool plane, don't get me wrong. I'm glad I have it. But, like, look at that. What was that? Killing me, Smalls. Come on. Help me get on track here. Help me get on track here. Work with me. Work with me. Why are we not turning? Did nav mode get disabled? How? Okay, I didn't even touch the autopilot panel, guys, so I have no idea how nav mode was disabled. Not a clue. Like, again, the whole reason why I missed the top of descent is because I stepped away. So it was following the flight route and then some point disabled itself. That's interesting. I don't know if that's a bug or what happened there, but... And you know what I think we'll do at this point is just go straight to... Well, no, because we're going to need that time to descend. We'll let it ride it out. All right, so I'll catch you guys when we get to double. If I'm still too high, what I'll do is I'll pass by it and circle back around, line us up for the approach. We're coming in for a visual approach today. Lord help us. We'll see how that goes over. This is definitely... This thing's like... It's like flying a bucking rhino is the best way to describe it for me. It's a fun aircraft, but a lot of tweaks, a lot of torques that you got to get through. I definitely think that the flight model needs to be cleaned up a little bit, like I said. And just because some of the odd behavior, I don't think it's anything crucial. I really don't. And I can't stress enough, it is a very cool aircraft, and I am very glad to have it. It's just a little goofy, getting used to things. Definitely got things to get used to. So, all right. Well, I'll see you when we get to our approach altitude, and we'll go from there. So just a quick update, guys. We caught the glide slope, or the descent path, I should say. And it looks like we're right where we need to be. So I went ahead and re-enabled VNAV, and it's fluctuating quite a bit, but seems to be doing okay. I'm going to continue to monitor, and if for any reason I need to interject, we're going to go ahead and go back to vertical speed and take back over. But the carrot is a little low, indicating that we're a bit high, but as you can see, it's slowly creeping back up. So it does fluctuate a bit with VNAV enabled, but for the most part, I think VNAV seems to be working out okay. We'll see what happens here. Getting ready to pass through 18,000 feet, so we'll be setting our barometric pressure, and then I'll catch you guys as we're getting ready to turn final. All right, I've decided this has been a wild enough ride that I might as well just step into the danger zone, and we're going to disengage the autopilot and try to fly it. So this could go really bad. It's likely going to go really bad. Gosh, the controls are so sensitive. So sensitive. We're looking for 113 knots on the approach. I'm going to go ahead and start dropping flaps 1. So we got takeoff approach flaps coming in. Phew, look at that. Continuing to check barometric pressure. Man, this is crazy. In case you guys are wondering, seatbelt signs are absolutely on. Most of this is not me. The bouncing around, it is really that bumpy. These mountains are just playing havoc. Let's go gear down. Got the runway just next to the window frame there on the left side. Continuing to check barometric pressure. Changed again just in the last 1,000 feet. Let's get the runway in the main window here. Not a bad lineup. We did okay on the turn. 130 knots. Let's go full flaps. Some nasty wind shears. A nasty crosswind. Looks like 20 knots on the crosswind, if I'm reading that right. Yeah, 23 knots. Mercy, I can't get her to accelerate. Come on, baby. Sim calculated our approach speed at 113 knots. I think the wind is shoving us down, though. Wow. Come on. How can we be in a stall? Come on. Whoa, what was that? What the heck was that? Whew, okay. All right, recovered. Recovered. Oh, come on, I do not want to go around. And now I can't get it to come out of the sky. Oh. Okay.
That landing was good.
No, it wasn't. That landing was terrible. Okay, so a couple of issues that I have with this, and I don't know how much of it was me. I don't know how much of it was the aircraft. I don't know how much of it was the weather. So a couple issues. It was really, really hard to control this aircraft. It was extremely hard to control it. Everything was just so touchy. And then the wind was just beating the crap out of it, which I get it. 23 knot crosswind coming off. I mean, it was literally coming up the right wing. So to an extent to that, I get that. I do. But the approach speed was nowhere close. I didn't think I was pitched particularly at, why would there be a 747 out here? Really? Anyway, I didn't think that the approach speed, would vary that much even with the wind, but, maybe I'm mistaken. I'm not a real pilot, so this is just my concerns, not necessarily me making assumptions here, but just things that I'm feeling in comparison to other aircraft. That was nasty. That was really nasty. The aircraft finally bled out and landed at about 90 knots. And yet at 123 knots, pitching about 3 degrees of what I was looking at, trying to just maintain our current altitude, we got stall warnings. But then once I pitch the nose down, all of a sudden I can't get it to come out of the sky again until we bleed below 90 knots. I don't know. Just everything seemed really off about that landing. There was something that wasn't right. That was definitely a tricky landing. I do, again, stand by one more time. I think the flight model needs quite a bit more adjustment. Still a really cool aircraft. Still absolutely enjoy it. Everything that I said previously, just something was just weird about that landing. It was very trippy. It was intense. I think that we need to fly something else out here. I would love to fly another aircraft out here. Maybe the TBM. I think this would be a fun one for the TBM. But anyways, guys, at the very least, I hope this flight was entertaining. It wasn't anything else. It sure as heck wasn't a tutorial. That was terrifying. But as always, that's the nice part about simulation. We do this for fun, and I do hope you guys enjoyed this. Stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you in the next one.